Hey folks, I'm here for another moon forecast for you guys. Oh, so juicy. So, we have a full moon in Aries happening on the 7th of October at 4:48 a.m. That's GMT time. And I've got to admit that recently I've been pretty out of sync with the moon cycle, I'll say, even though I teach this stuff. And I was working a shift the other day at this wedding, and I looked up and was like, oh, it's nearly a full moon. That's how I remembered, folks. So I ain't got my shit together, and no one has. So this full moon is happening at 14 degrees and 8 seconds of Aries. We're in a fire sign. And actually it's so interesting because I've been having like every time, if you're not aware, I work for I do some hospitality work on the side. So I do a lot of weddings, and every time you do a job, you work with different people, right? And I've been having these similar conversations of around like younger people, mostly in their 20s, like, I don't know what I want to do, like, I'm blah, blah, blah. This like pressure that we have to know where we want to go and we have to have it all figured out at every age, which is BS. And it's something I even saw myself in the other day. Like in these conversations, I was thinking, where was I at that age? And like, even now I've had this thought in the last few days of like, oh, I should be further ahead. I should be making more money. My business should be at this certain level. And you know what, guys, if you're doing it, stop it. It doesn't help. I've really had to have talking with myself because I was getting so into this cycle of like berating myself and criticizing myself that it all stopped being fun. And I was like, you know what? The reason I do this work is because I love it, right? And that is what I'm in service to. I'm in service to bringing you this wisdom, the wisdom that wants to flow through me in whatever way. So I'm showing up, I'm doing the thing, I'm here. So this full moon in Aries, it's a very initiating energy. And with a full moon, things are surfacing. And there's this real trailblazer, right? Okay, so much of what we think of being a leader is about being in our masculine. We think if we to have a successful business, whatever the thing is, that you have to lead with your masculine. And that's not the truth. Because if you're feminine, your feminine energy has to be in a balance. It has to be in a dance with that masculine. And yes, you need to show up. You need to take the action and create the thing, like me recording this video. But that's not the be all end all. And what I'm feeling underneath this fiery energy is allowing that feminine hunger and passion to rise through us, to fill us up, to nourish us, and to actually follow the fire. This is a real reminder to follow your fire, right? I know it sounds so simple, but I'm saying it. This is how it's coming through. And when I say follow the fire, follow the thing that feels so alive in your body, not the thing you think you should do from up here, but the thing that like you could talk about all day, that you want to spend every hour of the day consumed in learning, integrating, whatever the thing is, follow that. Because I don't like that follow your passion. It's said a lot, but when you follow that fire, when you follow what is so alive in you, you are magnetic. The right people come, the right opportunities are created because you are in sync with your fire. And your fire is that creative energy. This is very much what this full moon is about. It's like we have to put ourselves first. And it's not selfish to put yourself first. It's actually being of service to yourself, right? My words are not going to come out in the right way today because I'm on my period. So I'm stumbling with words. This is why. Um, and yeah, the key to this real fire is going deeper, is looking deeper, because we don't want the fire to burn out as well. Whatever you're creating, you also need a container. I always say this. You need a structure for that creativity. It's not that you bind it in, but think of the structure as the masculine part of you. So you've got that creation that's coming in a beautiful feminine way, and you're in your feminine, you're in that mystical tenderness, that vulnerability of your feminine. And the masculine is just going to help you move that forwards. It's going to be like, right, I'm emailing this person, I'm putting the social media post out. There's a real sense of, sometimes we lose our courage, right? When things don't go to plan or the way that we wanted, right, from our ego, we can start to question things. Or am I meant to be doing this? Am I on the wrong path? All the things. But actually, that doesn't mean anything about your creation. It just means it's feedback. And with everything that doesn't go the way you thought is clarity, is insight, right? So it's leaning into when we've been challenged, when we're feeling like we don't have the energy to go on, right? I really had this last week. I was feeling super emotional 3 or 4 days ago. I had this wave of grief last week, and then I let it out. And I just was like, why is this so fucking hard? Like, if it's meant to be, it would be easy. But that's not the truth, right? The things you truly want, I'm not saying you like have to sell yourself, but what I'm saying, anything that truly is worth creating takes hard work, right? It takes showing up again and again and being consistent. And this full moon is asking us to really, if things aren't going to plan, is to really tap into your courage. And like, why did you start in the first place? If you're losing that sense of motivation or that kind of zest for what you're doing is waning, connect in with why did you start? Because I bet if you connect in with your story, you will come to why you started, right? Like, I started my business because astrology was such a powerful tool for feeling so seen and so heard in a world where I had been so misunderstood. Like growing up at school, I did not feel recognized. And astrology opened that doorway to be, fuck, I really see myself. I really see all these parts of me, and I embrace it all. And that was part of my why is like this self-expression is I'm here to help people really connect with their self-expression, to really see the depth and like the intricacy of themselves as a soul, right? We are not just a human. There is so much more to us. And I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm coming back. So this, if this like energy is waning for you, know that it is probably going to come back at this full moon. And, I always say if you've lost that zest, it's okay. Like, you don't need to just resolve it immediately. It's really it's being curious to what lights you up. And if you've lost touch with that, just see how you react to certain things and literally follow your curiosity. Imagine you're like a child and you have this lens of curiosity and you're just going to follow those threads, whatever it may be. It may seem counterintuitive, it may seem crazy. Maybe you read something in a book and you're so captivated by it, and then you go down a rabbit hole with that thing. I want you to follow these threads because those threads lead you back to yourself. Curiosity always brings you back to the heart. And when we've lost our motivation or like our passion, it's often because we're disconnected from our heart, right? From ourself. And courage lies when we are open-hearted, right? Because vulnerability is also the ability to be courageous. And this is what this full moon is really illuminating. Like, can I be courageous and allow myself to be so vulnerable? Because vulnerability is actually a superpower. And I know a lot of people are worried about being vulnerable because they feel like they have no guard and they're going to be exposed and something bad is going to happen. But honestly, I can tell you, I've been doing a 30-day writing my truth every day. Um, and it is so liberating when you let go of worrying what everyone else is going to think and just share your truth from your heart. People will connect with it even more so. So that's I feel like that's such a key theme for here. And because that full moon access, we're in the Aries of like initiating, leading ourselves, but also this dance in our relationships. There is this real feminine quality coming in here, and Libra of going, okay, how can I tend to my relationships as well? And maybe those relationships can actually really nourish that vision, that creation that I'm working on, right? Because at the end of the day, relationships are so important. Like I realize this more and more. Friendships, close relationships, they give you a foundation of safety. Because when you are in the shit, like I was last week, and I've been in many times, you can lean on those people. You know, you can cry, you can do whatever you need to do, release it, and go again. Because this journey is a roller coaster. And I think so much, what I realize is so much of us, our ego loves to think that like we're the only ones struggling, but we're not. And that causes separation. And this full moon is really like asking us to actually have those difficult conversations. You know, maybe you're not being fully truthful with somebody. And this like full moon is almost like probing deeper to go, okay, are you really telling your truth? Are you really feeling that truth in that relationship? You know, what else needs to be communicated? And there's probably going to be insight and clarity of like what I call the deep soul, what that deeper part of you needs in a relationship. And there's a real learning here for us. Because on the one hand, there's this aspect of learning about being clear and direct in our communication. But there's also this part of us being almost confused about how to be direct. So we're in a seesaw with that. And, you know, just know with confusion, confusion has to happen for us also to have clarity. If you think of it as opposites on the scale, we also need to feel confusion to have that direction, you know, to see the clear direction. Um, so just watch where you may even be deceiving yourself with things where you don't want to see the full truth. Maybe there's something really painful, something you're just avoiding in yourself and in your inner world, a shadow that's surfacing that you're like, I just really don't want to see that. I swear, if you see that, you will come back into your true power. Um, you know, and power speaks to it's like this theme in this full moon chart of your power awakens when you learn to adapt. When you learn to adapt to the moment because life is not fixed. When we adapt to what is, we're able to surrender. And surrender is not giving up. Surrender is actually a really powerful tool to whatever you're creating. Surrender is saying, I desire this thing, but I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to stop trying to control the how of how this thing is going to come into being. And there's a real liberation around that when we allow ourselves to be in like the thick sludginess of the truth, right? Whatever you're feeling uncomfortable about. I did a post the other week about feeling feeling fucked up about my finances, right? And when I really sat with that and I went into like the fear of that playing out, like if I had no money, I'd like get chucked out my house and then I'd be homeless. And I let this vision play out. Now, that's extreme and it could happen, but the likely chances are of that happening is very unlikely, right? Because I have people in my life that would support me and would, offer me a couch to sleep on. But when I allowed that vision to play out, the fear started to dissolve. So it's really allowing yourself to, the thing that feels, maybe there's something you've been triggered around or something you're resisting. Let's take the thing, whatever it is you're resisting, what is it you're resisting? What is the fear underneath that? And when you ask that question and really allow that to play out, it shifts. It shifts so quickly. So that's what we're being asked to do, to really dance with our shadows and to follow that fire, to follow that. Aries speaks to the power of intention because fire is such a powerful force. And if we can use it, if we can work with our life force energy to keep following those threads and to bring things into being, we don't have to slog as hard. We can be intentional with our energy, right? When I say hard work, I'm not saying like working, all hours of the day, but we also have to be consistent. The fire doesn't like consistency. And this chart is very much about fire starting, initiating, leading. But we also have to go into that fixed energy and, stabilize that vision. However, you can stabilize that vision with depth or integration. Tools for integration are going to help. Yeah. And what else I want to say is, this Mars is in Scorpio, so there's a real deep, deep fire and hunger almost awakening in us. And when I say a hunger, people think that might be negative. A hunger for life, a hunger to desire more, a hunger to be of service, to share your light in a bigger, bolder way, right? This is inviting us to step up in bigger, bolder ways, but also with a depth and a complexity that I know so many of you bring to your work. So this is shining a light on those bold qualities and whatever you may be struggling with, knowing that that's also the medicine. Whatever your challenge is also the medicine that will catapult your desires forwards. That is your fuel, right? Because that is your medicine that you're learning, and that is knowledge and wisdom that you are, you know, journeying through for a reason in your life. So don't downplay that if you're struggling right now. That is part of your path and it will make so much more sense later. But keep going, keep following that light, keep following the threads, and having this balance of like, what is it I truly desire? What is it I want? And also giving energy to our relationships. This is the duality we're in at the moment, but we need both. You know, we need those relationships to stabilize and support us, because if we don't have those relationships, when we have those wobbly moments, which we're going to have, where are those people? We need people to rely on, you know, and this is really something I've been getting better at, is like asking for help, you know, and like if I'm, you know, in emotional ways, or even just voicing something with somebody that I just needed to get off my chest, you know, that I felt stressed about finances, whatever it was, I felt such a relief when I've had those conversations. So don't keep it all in. Like, we're not on this journey alone. Share it with someone, relieve that burden, and that will actually help your fire to ignite even more. So I hope this helps. I really hope this gives you some inspiration and insight into this full moon. Do share like what is landing for you at this full moon? What is stirring within you? Let me know in the comments below. And I'm sending you all so much love, my dears. Bye.